Joining me is Rodney Dixon Casey, a barrister and international lawyer practicing from Temple Garden Chambers, London and The Hague. He's acting as international lawyer for Abdurrahman Yusuf Al-Qardawi. Rodney, welcome to the show and thank you for joining us.
Good afternoon.
So it's been nearly 100 days since his extradition and disappearance. The pressing question remains, where is Abdurrahman Yusuf Al-Qardawi?
We don't know. This is the central and most disturbing issue. He was unlawfully extradited to the UAE, and we don't know where he is, and we are unable to contact him and to ensure that he is safe and that his rights are being protected.
His family said a few weeks ago that they had a phone call from Abdurrahman for a few minutes, but we have heard recently that Abdurrahman Yusuf Al-Qardawi's family allowed to visit him in detention in the UAE. Can you share any details about how that visit took place and what was learned from it?
Yes, his family were allowed to see him very briefly for no longer than 10 minutes. Recently. That's the only contact they have been able to have in person with him. There's been no further contact since then, and they do not know, we do not know where he is being held. So he's effectively disappeared with no ability to contact him or to ensure that his well-being is protected.
I think these are very important information about Abdurrahman. So there was a visit between his family and him in his detention place, or where?
No, it wasn't at his detention place. It was somewhere else. It's not clear where. And as I say, no one knows. The family, we do not know where he is currently being held and detained. When his family saw him very briefly, they were only able to do so for no longer than 10 minutes. He appeared to be all right, but one never knows. They were not able to speak with him freely, and as I say, they have no contact since then. He is being held somewhere, we don't know where, in solitary confinement, so on his own, which is very concerning because, as we know, such confinement is not lawful. It has been held to constitute torture, to be held in such conditions and without access to your family and lawyers.
Yeah, but what happened during this visit? Did the family share with you some details?
The family was able to speak very briefly with him, not go into any details, and it was not possible to get a real sense of what was going on. But most importantly, they haven't been able to have any contact with him since, and they don't know where he is, and no way of reaching out. This is prohibited as a matter of international law. It's contrary to all recognized human rights standards.
How was he? How was his health? Any signs of torture or ill treatment?
The family reported that from what they could see, he was all right, but one can never tell fully in these circumstances when the visit is so short. But they were able to confirm that he is being held in solitary confinement, which, as I've emphasized, is widely regarded as an unlawful form of detention in these circumstances, which can constitute torture.
What did he say during this visit? Any messages from Abdurrahman?
No, he was not able to convey anything in the form of a message. It was a very brief exchange, and it wasn't possible to have any meaningful conversation, especially in such a short period of time. Usually, under international standards, you would be required to allow access to family, friends, to lawyers, doctors, to those who are being held in detention. But none of that is applicable in his case. Also, very significantly, we don't know what the charges are. He hasn't been charged with anything. He hasn't been brought, as far as we are aware, before a court of law. This all makes the detention unlawful and arbitrary.
Did you manage to visit him in the UAE?
No, the only visit in person has come from the family, as I mentioned, the very brief visit of no longer than 10 minutes and nothing else. What we are doing as the legal team is we are focusing on taking all possible legal steps to secure his rights and urging the UAE authorities to do the right thing and uphold international standards and ensure that there is access in the future.
Yep.
And that we know what is happening to him, where he's being held, and to release him because there's no evidence of any crimes being committed. He hasn't been brought before a court, and you can't just be held in detention with no charges indefinitely.
And regarding the legal efforts, what are the main legal challenges you are facing in representing Abdulrahman, especially given the UAE lack of transparency about his conditions, about his whereabouts?
Yes, there are some very serious obstacles, but we are taking all possible steps to engage with key governments, including the UK government, the EU, because they have strong links with the UAE, to reach out to them, to use all channels to encourage the UAE authorities to take the proper steps to uphold his human rights and to release him when there are no charges that are being brought. So it is a very difficult road, but a number of key countries have strong links with the UAE, and they can use those to ensure that there aren't human rights abuses. Of course, we're also reaching out to the UAE directly to ensure that they take the proper steps here, and they should be doing so. They should not be disregarding their own national laws and international law.
Did they,
in this case,
did they ever respond to your request or your questions?
Well, the family have been in contact. There's been nothing that has come back of any substance which has informed us as to where he's being held, what is going on, are there going to be any charges. This has been going on now for 100 days to tomorrow, and we are in this black hole. It's unacceptable that this can happen in this way. Countries should not be allowed to detain persons in this way without any consequences whatsoever.
Yeah, and which international human rights laws or conventions are you relying on to contest his extradition from Lebanon and his continued detention now? And how do they apply in this case?
Yes, we have focused on the unlawful extradition from Lebanon because there was no proper process there. It was rushed through, and even though the UN had said that it should be put on hold because of the risks of torture in the UAE, given its track record, nevertheless, he was forcibly sent in a hurried and unlawful fashion. So we have written directly to the current Prime Minister of Lebanon, asking for an urgent investigation into how that happened and for the Lebanese authorities to take proper steps to return Abdulrahman to Lebanon, to get him released because of the violations of Lebanese law and international law as well. This wasn't an extradition in the usual sense of the word. It really amounted to an abduction where he had no right to take it before a court and have it properly considered.
Yeah, and in what ways are you working with the United Nations specifically to challenge the alleged misuse of extradition treaties in this case?
Well, we have engaged all of the key special procedures. They have made strong statements condemning what has happened and calling on the UAE to uphold its international obligations. And we will continue to work through the UN channels as well as engaging national authorities, in particular the Lebanese authorities, to correct the situation. It has to be remedied. It can't just be left. The UAE had apparently given undertakings to the Lebanese authorities that Ahmed Rahman would be treated properly. Well, in our view, those undertakings have been breached. And because of that breach, there must now be a remedy where he is returned to Lebanon, and the Lebanese authorities should not shy away from this. They have been involved in it from the beginning, and they should play their part now to uphold international law.
And you know, Rodney, there is a major concerns now that UAE can deport Abdurrahman al-Qaradawi to Egypt, his original country, to just have a trial there. And you know that Egyptian authority have a very bad history of misusing the justice in Egypt, and the forced disappearance, and there is political trials on thousands of Egyptians in Egypt right now. How do you work to prevent this?
Yes, this is a deep concern of ours, that because of this transnational repressive action where persons can be picked up in one country and then sent to another and sent on to another, because of the fact that that can happen without any scrutiny or consequence, it means that we are in a very precarious situation. And that's why we're trying to find out as rapidly as possible what is happening and to ensure that the situation doesn't get any worse. And it's not one that only applies in this case. It could apply in relation to other persons as well. I mean, it sets a very dangerous precedent, this. And, that's why we're urging the UK government, other governments, the EU, to take a strong stance and to say, yes, if there is proper evidence of offences, then you go through the usual extradition process. That happens between all our countries. But you can't just pick somebody up on the border and fling them to a country without any ability to challenge that, and then potentially to go off to another country, all done behind a closed curtain. This is not the way international justice and the rule of law works.
Yeah, and my final question, are you optimistic that you and the legal team can return Abdurrahman to Turkey again?
Yes, we continue to have hope that the right thing will be done, that all states will recognize the injustice of this and the appalling precedent that it would set if nothing was done about this. So we're going to continue to pursue all proper legal avenues to get Ahmed Rahman returned and to ensure that this kind of activity can't continue cross-border without any break on it whatsoever.
Yeah, thank you very much, Rodney Dixon Kessie.